Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Our life is made on symbols. See, we get a symbol or we get a hint, we do something, but the culture is all about symbols. You can see Om, and everyone knows it's Hinduism. And you can see other symbols which you know that which community they belong to. And there was a very famous symbol Iktas, and you all know who belongs to Iktas. So without getting into delay, we'll touch upon this topic. It's a very interesting topic, and we have a very good friend and an author and also a speaker on these topics, Deepali Patwadkar. So let us welcome her without delay. Namaskar, Deepali ji.
Namaste Aditya ji. Very glad to be back on Sattology. Thank you.
It's our honor that you're here. So, Deepali ji, first of all, before we get into the topic, just an overview of what do symbols and what are these help? How do these help a culture identify itself? It's a
Basically, we will start with what are symbols? What is the meaning of symbols? I would like to share some slides over here so
yes,
that because when we are going to speak about symbols, it has to be through pictures.
yes.
And
You
there we
can share
go.
it now. Yes.
Okay, just 1 second while I share my screen. Oh, how do I do that? I am share screen. Yes, there. Okay, you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So basically, when we are speaking about symbols, they form the foundation of any culture. Every culture it creates all these different symbols, which can be either objects or a word or an action or a gesture, and the symbol is something, but what it means is something else. And our lives, basically everybody's life, it is based on these symbols, and it is organized through cultural symbolism. This is a very heavy statement, and I think towards the end of our talk, this will become more and more clear that how our lives are driven by symbols, and they basically, tell very abstract ideas. So even in modern days, today we use so many emoticons to tell about what our feelings are. So these are different emojis. These are the modern symbols that we use. So there is a picture, but what it says is so much. It speaks about the feelings of the sender. So these are the modern symbols, very, very modern. And there are other symbols which give instructions. So daily when we are driving anywhere, we will see so many symbols which tell us, turn right, turn left, or there is a signal ahead, or there is a fork ahead. Whatever, they give instructions basically, and without uh, having to say so many words, just with a picture, these signs tell us instructions. And we use symbols everywhere. The forecast, it just shows picture.
Like
It will
a
show
visual
picture of
world.
sun.
The visual world when you see the queue and you can recognize, right?
Yeah. So they don't have to say, tomorrow is going to be a sunny day.
Yes.
They just show the picture of sun and we know. Or there are going to be thunder and windy, all those things, just through such small, tiny pictures.
Yes.
And that information is given.
Correct.
So,
It's all people say that you sign or symbol, can they use be interchangeably a sign?
pretty much,
Pretty
pretty
much
much. Sign is a type of symbol, you can
symbol.
say.
Yeah, you can see the weather
And
signs and you can make out today is going to rain. So it's
yeah.
all eyes, pratyaksha praman.
Prat- yes, it's pratyaksha praman. Whatever we see. Yeah.
Please carry on. Yes.
Yeah. And then when we are speaking about symbols, everything is used in a symbol. Like, for example, even colors are used in symbols. So simply the traffic lights, it's just a play of colors. The colors tell us, like the red light will tell, everybody has to stop. and the green light will say go ahead. Or these colored wires, they have different meanings, like one wire is meant for earthing, one is positive, one is negative, whatever. So all these color codings, we see it everywhere they are used, like even for waste segregation. So they will have, like, red colored basket for bio waste, and then there will be green colored basket for green waste, and something for paper and glass and metal and everything. So this color coding, this is also a symbolism, and we use it so often and everywhere. The the very nice thing about these colors and symbols is that, one really doesn't have to speak very much. With just one simple, that one cue, people understand what is supposed to be said. And then we have gestures. So there is a shake hand gesture, which tells, like, it speaks about, yeah, friendship, everything is good.
COVID-19, the
Or
chicken has gone out. So
yeah,
these are the ideal ones.
yeah. 2020 has changed everything. And then I think the way to greet anybody is going to be either the Japanese way of bowing to each other, or
Or
the
namaste.
Indian way where we just do, fold the palms and say namaste. So these are gestures, and in fact, what these gestures tell is that this particular gesture tells is that I'm here as a friend, not as an enemy. So there is, like, you can have a conversation after this gesture happens. So these are greeting gestures. And symbols, everybody uses them. Companies have their own logos, and there is branding. There are companies which just do branding and creating logos for other companies. There are national symbols, and we see all the flag of every nation. It is a symbol. So this symbol, it is so amazing, that a small flag, a small icon, it represents the whole nation. So when we see, like, a parade where somebody is holding the flag of that nation, that flag in itself is representing the whole nation. Or for example, you sing the national anthem and you respect the flag. So respecting the flag is as good as respecting the nation. And if you disrespect the flag, it is as good as disrespecting the nation. So that symbol becomes the nation or whatever it is representing. So the symbol becomes one with what it represents. It could be a value, it could be a god, it could be a nation. So it gains so much it gains so much importance. The symbol, it becomes whatever it is representing.
Correct.
And
Like in Jagannath Puri, they have a daily flag change ceremony, daily,
mhm.
weekly, and every time they use very unique flags. And for Jagannath Ji, like the yellow with the dot, and it's a triangular flag, and virtually every temple has their own flag.
Yeah. Every temple has its own flag.
Correct.
Every god has his own flag, his or her own flag.
Yes.
And as I said, again, it is interchangeable.
Changeable.
Like, I'll just give one example. Like, for example, Vishnu, the god Vishnu, his flag is Garuda. Like, just like, like USA has eagle as a national symbol. Vishnu's symbol is a eagle in Sanskrit is Garuda. So the name of Vishnu is Garuda Dhwaja. He whose flag is Garuda, he whose flag is eagle, is Vishnu. So he gets the name by his flag. So just by looking at an eagle, one will recognize this is the US entity.
Yes.
Similarly, one will look at a Garud and say, like,
Vish-
another culture will look at a Garud and say, this
Vish-
belongs to Vishnu. This is the flag of Vishnu.
Yeah,
So this is very interesting.
I have a flag on my house also. That's Balram's flag.
Ah, the hull, the plow.
Not the plow. There is a Jagannath. It's a white flag with a red dot. It's considered
Ah,
Balram.
okay. The other one. Okay.
Yeah.
And so as I was saying, a flag is again a symbol. So it's a very small, tiny symbol, and it represents the whole nation. And every science, every branch of science has its own set of symbols. For example, all these mathematical symbols, it's a language of mathematics, and these symbols convey huge meaning to those who understand them. So you have to be able to understand the symbols. For us, this is like, Greek and Latin, we cannot understand what is written, but a mathematician is going to understand this. So every symbol that we see, we have to learn it, we have to understand how to interpret it, we have to understand what is the meaning behind it, what is the philosophy behind it, and only when we understand all of this do we are we able to read a symbol. So every symbol, it has its huge history which comes along with it. So just as there are mathematical symbols, there are written symbols as well. So every script that we look at, every alphabet that we look at, it is a symbol in itself. So as we speak, all these sounds that we make, e, u, k, r, so whatever sounds we make, these sounds, they're represented with a symbol. They're represented with a form, and this form becomes a script. So we see all these different types of alphabets which have been created by various cultures all over the world. And these again are symbols. So again, if you have to be able to read these symbols, you have to understand what every letter means, what is the sound of every letter, and then you will be able to read these scripts.
Yes. I mean, if you don't understand the symbol, that means that you are not able to decipher that what it is conveying.
Yes, it can become a code. If you
Code.
don't understand what is written, it might just become a code, a cryptographic code, and then you cannot make out what is the meaning of it. So there is pretty
Yeah.
much out over here on the screen that I cannot make out, but there they are, all those signs. And the coming to this point for any culture to create symbols for the sounds, and then everybody in that culture should interpret it in the same way, and everybody should read it in the same way. It takes a long time, it takes a very long time to do that. And these cultures that we see, these scripts that we see, they have taken a long time to develop and come to this point today. So from written symbols we go to sound symbols. So every sound that we make, every word that we speak, that is also a symbol. So basically, these sound symbols, like, if, for example, hello. So this is a sound which everybody has to interpret it in the same way. This hello means, like, it's a greeting. So when a culture accepts those sounds in a particular way, then it becomes a language. And then the language that we speak, it itself becomes a collection of so many sounds, so many words, and it has to have that, a grammar behind it, and it has to have a structure behind it, which will evolve that language, and which will, like, create that language.
The
So
facial expressions can also be a symbol. You can speak something and your face can show whether you're angry or happy. Or
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
in Japanese language, they use in India, we use G as a sign of respect. But in
Mhm.
Japanese language, G means old man, old person.
Ah, okay, okay.
To Japanese, it's a san.
So yeah. So, with in every culture, the sounds will have a different meaning, or even sometimes the same word, even if it is like, America and UK, they both speak the same language, but the words might have a different meaning based on the culture. So, for example, in US, uh, I'll give you a call means you're going to give a phone call. Whereas in the UK, I'll give you a call would mean, like, go calling, you go and visit that person. So the words can be interpreted again in a different way in different cultures. So that's very interesting thing as we start going into the intricacies of language.
but most of the languages have nowadays very internationalized, so the greetings are fairly common. I think hi, but in India hi can mean totally different thing. So please go ahead.
And it should be said only once.
Yes, please continue, please.
Yeah, yeah. So I think one of the best things that a culture creates is its language. And then that language becomes such that you know that you cannot separate it from culture. The culture becomes the language is culture. The culture actually lives in the symbols of that language. It lives in that language. So if you want to break any culture, what would be the way is moving the people who speak that language away from the language. Just breaking the language will break a culture, because culture literally lives in a language. So this is something really, when you start looking at the words that you use, you will one realizes that how much uh, maybe the words, the phrases that are used, it is collected wisdom over a long time, and based on that, we literally live.
You put a very nice point. Culture is equal to language. So right now we are speaking in English, but our mother tongues are different. My mother tongue is both Marathi as well as Hindi, and your mother tongue is Marathi. So how do you think it affects the behavior pattern when you the language? How does it affect the behaviors of people?
Okay, the behavior as such, is it's based on how your language is.
Mhm.
For example, maybe the French language, or maybe I'll take a better example, which is nearer to me, which is Hindi.
Yes.
So Hindi is much more polite than Marathi.
Mhm.
So if I'm going to speak in Hindi, I'm going to speak with lots of respect to the person with whom I'm talking. So I will be speaking aapka naam kya hai, and all those things like that. So when a person imbibes a new language, he picks up the behaviors in that language. So automatically, like if I'm going to speak Hindi more and more, it's going to make me show more respect when I'm speaking, because the language has that facilities. It has that facility to show respect. Or even another research which I had read earlier was that the better your language is, the higher your vocabulary is, a better person you are. Because if you know the word, for example, if you know the word generous, then there is a possibility that you can become generous. So if your vocabulary allows you all these words, if your vocabulary teaches you, if the language teaches you all these words, it is basically creating that possibility of a better person. Or if we take the language Sanskrit, for example. So Sanskrit in itself means a civilized language. So if we look at the basic things in Sanskrit are the Subhashit. Subhashit are nothing but good sayings, and these are taught to young children. So anybody who is learning Sanskrit, the first thing that he will start learning is Subhashit. And all these Subhashit, they teach ethics and morals. So a person who is learning Sanskrit will automatically become a Susanskrit person, or will automatically become a civilized person, will automatically become a better person. So language plays a very big role in the behavior, and it really makes a difference what language you are learning and how deeply you learn any language.
That's right. So if we say in like hola, like in Spanish they say como estas,
Mhm.
and like how are you. In
Okay.
Marathi we'll say uh, in Marathi, like in Bhagavad, in Sanskrit we'll say bhavata kim, right?
Mhm.
How are you? And in Hindi we'll say aap kaise hai.
Mhm.
Marathi will say tula, like you say it
Kasa hai.
कैसा है,
Kasa hai.
कैसा है. So it's a, and then if we say in English, we say do not fear. In Marathi, we'll say तुला भयभीत होऊ नकोस. And in Hindi, we'll say आप डरिए मत. So you can see the different tones. Like, what do you understand from this? Like different, what is the feeling you get by in different languages? Like
Um,
we all get a different like when we say, we all get a different type of warmth and which their culture will experience. But if somebody is just speaking, then bhavata kim, like, who are you? uh, it's a very polite way, right? The Sanskrit, no emotions, it's the lips just moving. And what is your view on that? Like how the language defines, like you said, Hindi is more respectful, and then as compared to other Indian languages, or somebody may say something else too. So it does it convey the feelings also? How does it, different languages can
eh,
convey feeling, different type of
yeah, yeah. Um, the languages which come from different cultures, they use different what do you say, phonetics.
feeling?
So there are some languages, like for example, the languages of Arabian Peninsula, they will be using kh so much more often.
From the here.
Yeah, from here.
Yeah.
And then there will be the Russian language which uses sk at more and more often.
Yeah.
And then if we look at the Bengali language,
Yeah.
it's very sweet.
Very,
They
very.
will not use hard words, hard phonetics. They will not use like sir. They will say sh,
Yeah.
and they will use more of l. So it sounds very nice to the ears. Or if we look at the South languages of the South, they have very particular way in which, like there will be hard d, hard t, and d and n and l, all these sounds. So they are basically using the capacity of the human vocal box in every way.
Right.
So the this phonology and the pronunciations of every language, it leaves a feeling for the listener.
Yeah.
So that also you don't really have to understand the language what they're speaking, but from the sounds also you can find that some languages sound very sweet, some languages probably sound hard, and some languages probably, like they are probably difficult, or they have accents and they have tonal values. So all of this, it creates an impact which can be pleasing, which can be not very pleasing, both the ways,
Yes. Depending on the listener,
depending upon the listener.
is their processing capability here. That's how.
Mhm. Yes, because it's the culture which has taught them how to understand those sounds.
Right.
So unless we go inside that culture, we will not understand.
Right. Right.
Sometimes, even in English, we are speaking something and we are speaking it, say, sarcastically. So somebody who is new to English might not understand the sarcasm.
Right.
So you have to be into that culture even to understand the sarcasm, or to understand the pun, and to understand the jokes. And otherwise, it's not possible to do that.
Yeah. This show is for mostly we are recording for the American English speaking audience because they also should know. So English, according to me, is a shorthand of all the languages. It was invented for business by the English traders. It's like so the fact that we are talking about other languages but talking in English is just so that the wider English speaking audience can understand. Okay, so the so one of the things which comes to my mind is most of the English is derived from Latin words plus new words invented while people are speaking. It's the most contributed language. The words from India and other places are included in that language right now. But the generally you'll see that the English it becomes a very the way people use it, I will say, becomes a emotionless language. Do you think like that, or maybe I'm wrong totally?
I don't know. It probably depends upon who is speaking, whether they speak with emotions or not. I don't
Sometimes you have to
know.
use more words to convey a feeling in English language.
Mhm. I think that would happen if your mother tongue is different from English, and it would be easier to convey the feelings in mother tongue. That that might be a possibility.
Right, right. So
But as you said, like English has learned so much from
other
everywhere in
cultures.
the world. So it is a rich language, and so many new inventions and all the technology, science, all those words have been added to English as well. So it's a rich language.
One of the things which the British used very extensively is to teach others to speak in their language.
Mhm.
They did
Yeah.
not adapt to their, they did not teach themselves others' language. They wanted others to learn their language.
Mhm.
And due to the British influence, it has spread far and wide, including America. If Germans were ruling America, we all will be speaking German. So a lot of Volkswagen and the different words would be here. But if it was, and I think only by one vote they lost it. Otherwise,
Mhm.
America will be speaking German today. So please continue, ma'am.
Yeah. So we were speaking about languages and cultures, and the biggest foundation or the biggest creation, one should say, of a culture is its language. And it's later on that the religions come into play. So religions, I think there are basically two major religions in the world: Christianity and Islam. So these religions are quite modern when you are comparing it with a culture. Cultures go far back into Paleolithic ages, whereas the religions are like few thousand years old. So when religion starts coming into the area of language, we see that it just piggybacks on language which has been created by a culture. So, for example, if we look at Persia, so there is a Persian culture and they have a Persian language. Or there was the Greek culture and they had their Greek language. Or there is the Egyptian culture and they had their own Egyptian language, whatever. Or we have the Hindu culture in India and Hindustani languages. So the cultures and the languages, they go hand in hand. But you wouldn't see, like there is a Christian language or there is a Islamic language. You wouldn't see that. You will see that Islam uses Arabic language. So Arabic language was existing even from before. Or the early documents of Christianity, the New Testament, it was written in Greek. So it is basically using the existing language. And when we speak that language is created by a culture, what is the contribution to a language by the religions? When we speak about that, we can say that the religious literature that is created by the religions, that is the contribution of a religion to language. And when we are speaking of Christianity and Islam, we can say that it's basically one book which is contributed to the language. So this is a huge difference between the way a culture creates language and the way a religion uses a language.
Even in the Ramayana period, the Madhe is a language which is spoken by the official languages. That was Sanskrit. So
Mhm,
Bhagwan Ram heard Ramayana in Sanskrit from Love and Kush. And but the spoken language was different. It was Avadhi.
mhm,
Avadhi is
mhm,
as old as Ramayana and one of the
mhm,
oldest languages. It's a uh, the Hindi is a modern language actually,
yeah,
but Avadhi is the old dialect language. Braj was the colloquial English language, and which is spoken by Krishna in Vrindavan. But in
mhm,
Dwarka, he spoke Sanskrit. So it's a different. So official language like today it is English. That time it was
mhm,
Sanskrit. So
mhm.
we can move on.
So, yeah, so all the documents, like today we fill all the forms and all the official documents in English. So there was a time when all the official documents would be written in Sanskrit.
Yeah,
So
even
we
until
see
400 BC, Syria was speaking Sanskrit. It's a record in Cairo University. It's recorded history. Yeah,
okay, okay. So
continue.
all
Yes.
these documents, all the scientific discoveries, all the dramas, all the poetry, the epics, all of these are written in Sanskrit.
Yes.
So that being the official language, you can say.
Even the history of the even till the Shunga dynasty period, even Cholas wrote their official documents in Sanskrit. Cholas. So, and somewhere I have seen even Pali being used, but Pali is a language on the northeast or east of Magad generally, and
Yeah,
Pataliputra. These are all Pali languages, which is a form derived from Sanskrit. So words are common.
right, right. So Buddhism, it used Pali language.
Yes.
So again, Buddhism is also a religion per se, where Christianity and Islam, it also has a founder.
Yes.
And whenever there is a founder, we know that the name of the founder comes from an earlier culture.
Right.
The language of the founder comes from an earlier culture. And even pretty many philosophies and the symbols which are used in the religions, they also come from an earlier culture. So, for example, when we look at the symbol of cross, we see that cross has been used by so many cultures, pre-Christian cultures throughout Europe, in Asia, in Japan as well, in America as well. We see that swastik has been used very. Uh, it was a very popular symbol at some point of time. I have this one uh, plate. This is a plate from the Samara culture, which was on the banks of Euphrates and the Tigris River. And you can see there is a swastik in it, and this dates to almost like 5500 BC. So we can say that this is like 7,000-year-old
Yeah.
uh, picture of a symbol. So this is what survives basically. Or you can even see a swastik on this Native American basketball team. This is from the early 20th century.
Yes.
And here, this is a Roman mosaic. We see a swastik in the Greek sculptures as well. So, swastik was a very popular symbol until Hitler came. So, until the advent of Nazis and until they made it into it became a bad symbol. So, from becoming a Swasti, it
Beware.
became a bad symbol.
Yeah.
In fact, when we are looking at symbols and when we are speaking about cultures, it's it's uh, it's a joy to look at the Indian culture,
Right.
because India has this unbroken culture for at least 5-10,000 years, and we see the symbols and we also see the sounds which are associated with the symbols.
I think it's
Because today
unbroken culture
swastik
from
doesn't have.
yes. I think it's unbroken culture right from the beginning of creation. It's still continuing because this is the
Yeah,
same. Yeah, it's
yeah, very, very right, very right. One cannot put how long this unbroken culture it is. And
nobody has tried to date Varanasi yet because
yes,
it's so old. I mean, established by Shivji himself. It's so old. It's
right,
literally, and Ayodhya established by Manu. It's
yeah,
unbroken culture till date. It is going on.
unbroken culture. So even today, those cities are living cities.
Yes.
When we do excavations on dead cities.
Right.
But these are living cities. How can you do excavate them?
Yeah,
So these
somebody
are
was
the most
telling me.
successful
Yeah, somebody
successful
was telling
cultures,
me
one
that.
should say.
Sorry, please continue. Yeah, yeah, you're saying something. Somewhere there is a delay. So I'm not trying to
Oh,
speak over.
yeah, yeah. I'm also experiencing the same.
So
Okay, so I'll go ahead
yes, please.
and speaking about symbols and the sounds. So because India has this unbroken culture, unbroken uh, uh, chain, what we see is that the symbol is there and the name for that symbol is also there throughout the world. Swastik doesn't have any other name. No other culture is living today which will say that we call this symbol something else. There is no other culture. There is only the Hindu, the Indic culture. So Hindu is basically including Jainism and Buddhism as well. So the Indic cultures, they still have the name for this symbol, which is Swasti. Swasti is like, Kalyan ho, Mangal ho. May everything be well with you. And in fact, there is a Swastik Mantra in the Vedas as well. This is a Swasti Mantra, which is which is a prayer to four gods. So these four gods are the four arms of the swastik, you can say. And for every arm, one mantra is said, one god is prayed, and this is what we see.
Yeah, please continue. Next. Yeah.
Yeah. So along with swastik, what we see is a cross symbol as well. So this cross symbol we see in the on the Indus Valley seals, which are like 5,000 years old, and we continue to see both these symbols. Even today, these symbols are used, and this, as I was saying, like the cross symbol, it has been used in all the cultures all over the world. There is the sun cross, this blue one, a circle with four quadrants in it. So this symbol, it is basically speaking about the four cardinal points, the two equinoxes and the two solstices. So these 4 points in the sky, they make the sun cross. Or you can say, like the four seasons of the year, they make the this sun cross. Or cross also symbolizes the four elements. The Greeks had their four elements: earth and air and water and fire. So these four elements and the cross. So we see that this cross has been used by cultures everywhere, and it was a continued symbol which was used uh, for since ancient times. The Greeks had their cross, then there was the Latin cross also, and this Latin cross later on came to become the Christian cross. So somewhere around 4th century, it became the symbol of Christianity. So this is a this is what where we see, like in the Western or in the European history, we can say there is a break. Before Christianity, the cross had a different meaning, but after the advent of Christianity and after Christianity took the cross as its symbol, its meaning changes. So after the cross becomes a Christian symbol, it gets associated with Jesus Christ. It gets associated with resurrection of Jesus Christ. So the meaning changes, and that we see that the meaning changes when there is a break in tradition, when there is a break in the culture. And again, I come back to India and I say that we are seeing the same symbols and the same meanings for thousands of years, and this is an achievement for a culture.
No, the Jesus symbol was a fish, ictus.
Yes,
So not a cross. So the
not a
cross
cross.
was a Roman symbol, just to show that they are more powerful, and they have put Jesus on the cross. So the church adopted the cross, that cross, Latin cross, as a symbol of martyrdom of Jesus.
Right.
So this is, and the throughout the history they have, like they call it St. John's cross. So they put every single cross in the name of their pope. So when they replaced the 12 Olympian gods in Rome, they, instead of 12 gods, they put 12 popes over there. Even if in the pantheon you see the 12 popes over there, and
Mhm.
so I would say, usurping somebody else's legacy and calling it theirs, like that.
Yeah, yeah. So the meaning earlier is different, and then
Totally
it's a
different.
new meaning is given. A
Yeah,
new meaning is given to it.
yeah.
So people continue to use the symbols, but
But the but
without the people knowing it, the meaning has changed.
yeah, the connotation and denotation, like the
Mhm.
connotation is totally different now based on the narrative being spread around it, and the denotation is what you are showing right now. Is actual meaning is this.
Yeah. Mhm.
Please continue. Yes.
Very, very right. Yeah, and there are two symbols which I would like to talk about, the Indian symbols, and I say Indian symbols, but this is a worldwide phenomena. There is nothing uh, as it is owned by India. The first tool of humans, that is the fire, and all the humans everywhere, they found a friend in fire. When they were able to control fire, it became their tool. So they were able to, like, cook on their food on the fire. They were able to save themselves from fierce animals with the use of fire. They were able to protect themselves from the winters, very harsh winters, if they had fire. And at night, and even during the cold winters, they had fire for giving them warmth and giving them light. And the fire was also used for purification. Like, for example, if we boil water, we get pure water. Or if gold, it is melted with the use of fire, all the impurities in the gold can be removed. So fire has so many uses, and this made fire as a god amongst the earlier cultures. So we see that the Greeks and Romans, both of them, they had fire as one of their gods. And today, what we see is that in the Olympics, this torch is used. A real fire torch is used. So it comes from that ancient culture. It comes from that ancient culture which used to worship fire. So this a torch is a symbol of the fire god, and it is still used today. Or we see in India, we still use fire for home and heaven. So this is a continued symbol. Fire as a god. This symbol is continued. In fact, in India, we see that the color of fire, which is the saffron color, the orange color, it is still considered as very pure. So we will see all the sadhus in India. They wear these saffron colored clothes. So the saffron color itself, it means pure. It means all these things that fire means. So again, this is symbolism. The color, it in itself means fire. When you use the color saffron, it means fire. So it becomes fire itself. And when we are again speaking of the human race, probably the next most important discovery, important invention of the humans was the wheel, next to fire. And this was a revolution. So once the wheel was invented, and it was used in so many ways. It became the potter's wheel. It became the chariot's wheel. It became the Kala Chakra, the wheel of time. Like, the time simply goes on and on and on. So that is the Kala Chakra. So like, we understand that the time is flowing based on the sun, because, like, sun will rise every day, set every day, again rise, again set. So this is a wheel. This is the wheel of time. So the symbol of sun is the wheel. And because it also signifies time, it is kind of a weapon. Time is a weapon, because everything that is born, it will die within in time. So time is a healer, we say. Time is healer of everything. So, and it is also, like, a destroyer of everything. So time, so this chakra, the Kala Chakra, the wheel of time, is the biggest weapon. And then Vishnu, he uses this chakra as a weapon. He uses the Sudarshan chakra as the weapon. So we see that the wheel is also associated with Vishnu. And we see the wheel is also associated as a Dhamma chakra with Buddhism. And it is also associated with kings. So any king whose whose chariot, it goes unobstructed, whose wheels go unobstructed, he is called as the Chakravarti king. And this wheel, it was such an important symbol since the very ancient times. In fact, even today we see the wheel as a symbol on the flag of India. So we see this continuity of various symbols in India. So even in the flag of India, when we see the saffron color, it comes from the fire, and the wheel, it comes from the sun. And it simply means, like, it means power, it means progress, it means movement, it means moving ahead, development. That is what it means. So these are, like, a small story of various symbols. Over to you, Aditya.
Thank you very much, Deepali ji. So, do you have more slides so we can cover in the next session?
Yeah, we will stop over here.
Yes. No, I think you raised some very important points. How the symbols play an important role in our life, and also how fake narratives have been built around symbols, like you showed around swastika, and you
Yeah.
beautifully showed, and that be well. It's a health symbol. It's a symbol for good energy, not the negative energy. And if somebody tries to give a wrong narrative over there, that is their problem, not our problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Hitler considered him an Aryan, but in order to be an Aryan, you have to first born in an Arya family, which follows Veda. Very simple things like that. So if you do not become an Arya by uh, through hate.
By Yeah, not by genes, but by behavior.
Yeah, like you will be called an Arya because you are civilized and belong to a cultured family. But
Yeah.
but if we start hating, then you are not an Arya because you are a or you're not following dharma, then you're not an Arya. So beautifully presented, and I think I really like the slide about the fire, because the very common English saying is English, burn in hell. Now, if somebody knows the etymology of hell, it comes under hole, like the hole becomes hell. So
Okay.
when they say burn in hell, again they connect fire with the hell, burn in hell, the English phrase, which is a totally incorrect statement based on what you showed, because fire is a purifying agent, and
Yes.
you melt the metal to make nice ornaments. So fire is again used positively. Accidents do
Right.
happen where people's houses get burned. America is like, the houses are like matchboxes. Little bit fire, the whole house goes out in 30 minutes. But that is an accident. But a fire doesn't denote a negative thing, right? You,
Anything in excess is bad. So
yes,
even if we have floods, water is bad.
that's right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, elements don't become bad. It's just that how we use it. Without fire in the belly, you cannot even digest food.
Right.
Jatanagri.
Yeah. So
So
if I become cold, it's the game is over.
game is over. Yes. So everything has a purpose, and I think symbols denote that. And I think we'll cover the part two in the next show, so that we can complete the
Surely.
rest of the thing. You had more slides. And thank you all the viewers for watching it live, and do comment on the YouTube when it goes out to premiere. It will be show it will the record this show will be stored in posterity, so you can see it anytime you want. So thank you, and namaskar, Diwali ji. Thank you.
Thank you.